everybody, welcome back to the show. This is The Mental Breakdown. I'm your host, Joey Velez. Beautiful Saturday here in Wichita Falls, Texas. Not too cold, not too hot. I was actually able to go outside for a nice little run this morning, and boy, am I out of running shape. Felt like I was running for about 100 miles, and then I looked at my Apple Watch, and it was only 1.4. So that felt a little weird, but, it felt good to kind of get back and into the rhythm of like running and doing cardio and stuff like that, especially when the weather is nice outside. One thing I'm grateful for is connection. So I was just at the local store trying to sell some of my sport cards that I have to a gentleman, and I ended up just having a nice 30-minute conversation with him. We both have our own podcast. We both love basketball. We both have coached basketball in the past. So it was really nice just to meet a stranger and just have a nice, fun conversation with him, and I think that's something that I just value in general is the ability to connect with people. Life is a lot more challenging when you do things on your own. So just being able to have conversations with people, learn about people, understand how different people function, understand just how different people live their lives is something that I appreciate and it's something that I enjoy that I get to do, especially within the field that I'm in. But that also brings me to a topic that he and I were really talking about, and something that shows up in my work as well, is how people handle these pressure situations. So I remember about 5 years ago, I moved from California to Georgia, and obviously didn't know anybody. So one thing I decided to do was join an adult men's basketball league as a way to just connect with other people while also playing a sport that I truly love and enjoy. Now, there was one game I remember. It was the last game of our season, and we had to win in order to make playoffs. Now, there was about 30 seconds left. We're up one. I get fouled, and I have a chance to go to the line, knock down 2 free throws to almost ice the game. Now, a little bit of background. Okay, so I played adult basketball in California growing up. And typically, you would have like 5 or 6 people watching. But since it was an adult league, usually 3 of them were little kids running around throwing their shoes at each other. So not too many people there watching the game. But now, when I'm in Georgia, apparently this is the thing to do at night. This is the thing to do on weekends, is to go watch adult men play basketball. So now I'm in a gym filled with probably 50 people, and they all know the severity of the situation. Everybody knows each other. So the atmosphere was drastically different than what I'm used to. Now, growing up playing basketball, even in prior rec leagues that I have joined, when it comes to free throws, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm a knockdown shooter. I'm hitting 85% of my free throws. But now in this situation, the game's on the line. There's a lot of people watching me, and I noticed it just felt different, So I go out there, I go through my routine, and I miss pretty bad. It hit the front rim, bounced right back at me. At that point, the crowd starts to murmur a little bit. So then, I got to shoot my second free throw, go through my routine, and the same thing happens. Hits front rim, I miss both, which something I hadn't done in a while in that league. And then now all of a sudden we got to play defense to kind of win the game. Now, we ended up winning the game, okay, and we secured our playoff spot. But in that moment, I felt like I wasn't being myself. So why is it that people can't handle moments like that? Games on the line, pressure situation, everybody's watching, what happens? Well, I think there's a couple things we can look at. So I think one is we start to focus more on the result than what my process is. So in that moment, I could specifically remember thinking about, well, what happens if I miss? What happens if I make? I went through my routine, but still my focus was on the outcome of the play as opposed to focusing on the process that I had always done going into free throws. I think another thing that happens is the expectations change. Not from other people, but from ourselves. So we go into that moment thinking, I have to make this. I need to make this. I can't miss. I should be able to make these things. Now, expectations do have their place in the world, right? They can provide motivation, provide focus, provide a sense of direction, things like that. But I think what it can also do is add more stress and pressure to a situation that is already stressful, which may lead someone to going away from their process, going away to what they normally do. But then I think the last thing is we have this fear of failure. Now, I think there was a level of a fear of failure that can be helpful, but I think sometimes it becomes too much to where now it gets in the way of us thinking more clearly about what I need to do in that moment. And all of those things are things that I experienced in that moment. I don't like to fail. I don't like to disappoint other people. And in that moment, I felt, well, if I miss, my teammates are going to be mad at me and they're not going to pass me the ball anymore. Is that the sole reason why I missed? We'll never know, but I think that was a very big contributing factor to my lack of performance in that moment. So when I think it comes to it, and you find yourself in a pressure situation, whether it's shooting free throws with a game on the line, whether it's giving a presentation to your colleagues about an important project you want to run, whether it's going into a test that you have to take to get a specific certification or to get a specific grade in a class. Like always, I think the first and foremost thing that you can do is start focusing on your breathing. I think what happens sometimes when we get into high-stress situations is we either hold our breath or our breathing becomes a little bit more sporadic. So I think that's where it's more beneficial to, slow your breathing down, take nice deep inhales in through your nose. For me, I'll go a 4-second inhale, but then nice smooth exhale out through your mouth, which will be like a 6-second exhale. Right? Doing something consistently to help you grab control of the stress, grab control of your physiology, but also grab control of your thinking in that moment. And then I think another thing you can do is reframe what that situation means, right? So I think what we look at is oftentimes what are the reasons that are going to tell me why I'm going to fail. So maybe it's now looking at what are the reasons that are going to allow me to succeed. So really looking at past data, past experiences that can let you know, like, hey, I actually do have the skills to be successful in this moment. I think you can also reframe into a more optimistic perspective, right? So really identifying, not necessarily, well, what happens if I miss? Well, what happens if I make it, right? Or telling yourself like, hey, you might miss, but like just focus on this, that, and the other to help you get through that situation, But then I think the last piece is acknowledging the severity of the moment, right? Hey, like playoffs are online. Hey, I am shooting pressure free throws. Hey, I might miss. But what I can do is get back on defense and make sure I get a stop, right? Or I might miss, but let me make sure I go through my process to give myself the best position to succeed. All right, but then I think lastly, and I think it ties into this last point, is reminding yourself of what your process is. I don't think you're going to eliminate that thought that comes in your head about the moment you are in. However, I think you can redirect that attention now to, okay, what is my process here? So for me, it's, hey, spin the ball on your left hand, dribble it twice, make sure your elbow's tucked in, and then snap your wrist. That is now guiding me back to my process as opposed to focusing too much on what happens if the outcome doesn't go my way. Right? So there's a lot of different strategies you can do to kind of help make those pressure moments a little bit more manageable. It may not eliminate the stress, but maybe it helps you work hand in hand with it so that you can be as successful as you can in that moment. Because remember, like pressure can burst pipes, but it can also make diamonds. So I think it's how you interpret and how you handle these pressurized moments that are going to lead to the outcome you want, or at least being able to manage the outcomes that you don't want in a more effective manner. And that's what I have for you all today, right? How to handle pressure situations, whatever pressure situation you find yourself in. Thank you all for your time and attention. As always, have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget to download the podcast, share with your friends, your colleagues, your family. Don't forget to like and rate the podcast so we can continue to grow this message. And don't forget, today is always a great day to make an impact on someone's life. All right, y'all. Have a good one.